Yes, I am recording. Great.
Yeah.
Hello again. This is Sasha Brätt, the head of new works at Playhouse on Park, where we do the Playwrights on Park reading series, and we're touching base again with Adam Szymkowicz from his play lair down in Connecticut. Adam, how are you?
You know, hanging in there. We're okay. We're okay here. Yeah.
Still standing, still writing.
A little bit of writing. I did finish a play like last week or the week before, which was really good. It was really hard to, it's hard to get writing done in this time.
Well, there's no. I imagine with a kid at home, you have less downtime than you normally would.
I have a lot less downtime, and my day job is pretty busy right now. So like between the day job and the kid, and yeah.
Now, is so this play was, I'm gonna guess from watching your Facebooks and being friends with you, this was play 51?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Yes, it was my 51st play in like 24 years, something like that.
That's good. That's a good ratio. Yeah. Some people say prolific, and then they make fun of you for it, right? Oh, Adam wrote, like, I'm glad that you said it was hard, because I think all of our mutual friends and some of them who are also playwrights, I always hear them just make fun of, like, oh great, you wrote another play. That's yeah. So why was this one harder or
I mean, honestly, it's been hard for a few years. I mean, there's a almost direct correlation of like Trump coming into office and it becoming harder for most people to write. It's just it's a harder time to concentrate. But especially now, like I think everyone, a lot of my friends are in New York, and so a lot of them are really stressed out, like going out in the streets, like doing anything, like they're cooped up in their tiny apartments. And like, at least we have a backyard, and we have, like it's a house, but it's a small house, but it's a house.
It's a house.
And it's like completely different than people who have like a tiny apartment, who normally don't spend much time in their tiny apartment, and now they're like in it 24 hours a day.
Right.
And just kind of freaking out and having too much spare time. And I have no spare time. So that helps me a little bit in like getting some writing done, because I'm like, ooh, I have an hour. I can like, let me bang out a few words. Okay, it's done. It's was really only 45 minutes. Okay, we got something in.
Now, so when you have an hour to bang out some pages, have you been thinking about it all day, or are you like in the shower writing it and then eventually get to it, or is it you have to kind of go to a write zone?
Like the ideal situation is that I'm thinking about it in the shower, and I'm thinking about it and like making notes and stuff. Sometimes when you get stuck, you kind of get out of it, and it's harder to get back into it. But recently I was like, oh, okay, I just have to write like I have to write like the last couple of scenes of this play. Like it's almost done. I just have to like finish it. And yeah, I took a walk like a few days before that, and like figured out like, okay, this has to be in it, and this has to be in it, and how does this end exactly like this? And I like just emailed it to myself. And then I sat down and, over a couple more days, like a few days later, like finished the play. So
love
that. It was good.
It's a good feeling though, right? Hitting those words. Are you an end of play guy?
Yeah. And it was it's a commission, and it's a sequel to the play that they did at the college that you work at.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And that was
kind of a sequel. It's got some of the same characters. It's like the same world. It's yeah.
So that's Hearts Like Fist, right?
Yeah.
And does this one is it similarly titled or just similar characters?
At the moment, it's called Hearts Like Planets. So
gotcha.
We'll see. I don't know. I haven't got a lot of feedback from that title yet, so we'll see. But like it's riddled with like people talking about comparing their hearts to things. Like the whole play is like full of that. So there's like a lot of different options for changing the name if I want to change the name.
How much stock do you put in a play title? Because I was looking through the plays of yours that I know, and I'm a big fan of a lot of the titles. And I don't know if that's superficial, but as a reader of plays, as a goer of plays, it might be superficial, but it always rings true to me that a good play title matters, whether that's fair or not.
I think that some of the greatest plays have terrible titles, and also some plays that are not so good, if they have the right title, then the theater can get their audience to go see it.
Sure.
And like they know what they're expecting from the title, kind of thing. Which is like I feel like this concept was introduced to me like a couple of years ago. Playscripts, who does a lot of plays in high schools and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they have mostly a lot of their plays are that kind of title of like, Take Two, or I can't think of a single one, but like The Audition, and it's like clearly, well, it's The Audition. It's a bunch of people, it's a bunch of auditions. But like most of them are like that, and so like I feel like for the high school market that makes a lot of sense. Like the teacher like looks at the title and they're like, yeah, I want to do that play.
Right.
But I didn't realize a lot of the like smaller professional theaters like also operate that way. Like if they're going to do like an unknown play that hasn't been done off Broadway recently, they want like a play that is like clearly like their title is what people are looking for. Is like, it's clear that it's like a murder mystery, or it's clear that it's a like whatever it is, it's like super clear, and people are like, oh yeah, I want to go see that play that's about the Yankees, or that it's about whatever the thing is about.
I think the first time I really noticed that when I was living in DC at Woolly Mammoth, they did Sarah Rules in the Next Room or the Vibrator play, and it sold so well there. And it was one of those, this is not Elizabethan, right? Turn of industrial, I don't know, going from lamps to electricity. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But also, and it's based on true stories and this and that. But I don't know if In the Next Room would have sold, but the Vibrator play did.
Yeah.
And it didn't change the merits of the play, but it definitely changed, like, did you see the buzz on just that, right? Or
I think of like Sex with Strangers,
great,
which is a great title, and it also like there's a little bit of like titillation. So it's a really good play too, but it's also like I feel like if that play had been called, I don't know, The Relationship Happened. There was a year in which like all like that play was being done at like every theater. And like there's always a play like that that's being done at every theater, and sometimes it doesn't always have to do with titles, but but I think that my Hearts Like Fists is my most produced play, and my second most produced play is Clown Bar. And like those are both I less Hearts Like Fists, but Clown Bar is very clear like kind of what it is. But like my dramas that are like Nerve is one of my dramas that gets done, like comedic drama that gets done like usually once a year, every year, sometimes twice or three times or something. But for like since like 2006, which is awesome, and it's a 2-character single set kind of thing. But I think that people don't really, they look at the title Nerve and they don't really have any idea. Like
no idea, right, what that's about. Or, Kodachrome is one like that too. That
I know.
But it sounds so good. Yeah. It feels good to say, Kodachrome.
I recently realized that, like, I feel like it's going to do well in high schools, but I recently realized that high school kids have no idea what Kodachrome is.
No idea.
Like, no idea. And, like, partially, like, we were doing it at Portland Center Stage, and we changed it to that partially, I think, to like get the older people excited about it, which I mean probably worked. I don't know, right. But like the consequence of it is like, oh, okay, that maybe that's not quite the right title to get high school kids excited about it, because they don't know how to pronounce it, they don't know what it is, they're just like,
and that one
rare that they understand what it is.
But I think that's also it might not get them excited initially, but I do think it's a good work. If you have a good high school program that's looking to delve into what the meaning of something is, and then the permanence or impermanence of a moment of time or a photograph, and the development of that and whatnot, and then how that reflects into the play, you can teach a grander thing on that. But it's that first entry, right? Like The Wolves is a great play, but like just the cover art could just like, it sounds like it's something else, and it's like, oh, it's a lot of people just talking over each other for a while, and I'm not even sure why it works, but it does, you know. And but enough about other playwrights. So when we work together, and we've done 2 readings now together, and we've known each other for a couple of years. The play we did at Playwrights on Park was called Young Love. Yeah. About it kind of traversed time a little bit, but it was the first. It was 2. How would you describe it? 2 plays, 2 one-acts in a whole play, or one whole play
It's like 2 related one-acts, but they kind of come together, hopefully, to be more than just 2 plays.
And how did you, when you do a reading like this, you know, you probably still do, you know, workshops, readings. You have plays all over the spectrum, right? You have plays you're just finishing, probably plays that are in the hopper. You have plays that are in workshop and reading sense, and then you have a bunch of published and produced plays. So you really are juggling a lot of things at once. A, how's that? And B, for a program like ours, the Playwrights program, how, and if it's not helpful, that's great too, but like, how is that part of the process for you in terms of how much something changes, or what, because we don't have a ton of rehearsal time for this.
Yeah, I mean, you know, those are, public readings are super helpful. But, you know, in the past, sometimes people have just had public reading after public reading of something. I have so many plays that usually when I have a public reading, it's like a time when it's super helpful for me. So like there are still some plays that are fairly new that I haven't had a public reading of, that I'm like, oh, I need to get that up and see what it's like in front of people, and see what works and doesn't work based on that. Like, I feel like, you know, I'm in writing groups most of the time, and like I'll be in the kind of writing group that brings in 10 pages a week, and that's super helpful for like looking at those 10 pages. And then after that, you know, that helps you also write the play, and then you might hear the whole play out loud, and then you'll get more information from that about timing, and did I say enough? Did I say too much? Like, what's missing, and what do I think is there and isn't there? And is this working structurally and everything? And then like the next step is like in front of people, to know like, okay, so what is the audience trajectory? And hopefully when you're sitting in the audience, you can kind of figure out like what journey people are going on as they're watching it.
Sure.
And so, you know, like usually like at least one of those is helpful, but like usually like 2 or 3 of those is about the right amount that's helpful for me. And then, you know, you try to get it up on its feet. And then hopefully another production, and then get it published. Like that would be the ideal situation. But most of the time you don't get the ideal situation. Like you get what you get.
And you have a relationship with several different publishers now, right? I mean, you have plays. So if you, not like if you want something published, it can be, but do you send it to them? Do they check in with you and say,
I do send it to them. And you know, there aren't a lot of plays, like the number of plays that are produced every year, the number of like new plays, they're not all published, you know, and so it's very lucky to get like a play published. And so like last year I had 2 published, and maybe the year before I had like or 2 years before that I had like 3 published. And so you know, I have 14 published like full-length plays right now, and that's a lot.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, and that's partially why I think I have more publishers than most people, is because I'm just like, I got too many plays for one publisher.
Right.
Like you're not going to take all. Yeah, you're not going to take all like 50. I mean, not all 50 are good, but like, you know, I write 2-3 plays a year, and I've been lucky enough to get like 2 or 3 productions a year for the last few years. So
that's awesome.
2 or 3 like new play productions.
What was the one? I feel like I might have either talked to you or Kristen about this, but what was kind of like the watershed moment for you? You said you've been writing for 24 years, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So what was the watershed of like, if you're a new playwright, like I have a bunch of friends who their plays live on New Play Exchange, which we should talk about later too. But they live on New Play Exchange, and like maybe they get comments, maybe they don't, and it's a good outlet, but they don't have the years or breadth that you have, right? So what was the watershed for you that went from like, I don't know, reading, like maybe some production to like published production? Like kind of, was there a crossover moment, or was it more gradual?
So I interned for an agent, and she was really good at getting, like, talking to the publishers and getting plays published.
Mm-hmm.
And she became my agent when the internship was over. And I think while I was interning there, she sent a play, this play called Deflowering Waldo, to Dramatists Play Service, and they liked it. And even though it hadn't really had a production, it had like one production, and it had a production at UHart actually.
Oh wow!
And then it had like another production like in Boston, a really small production, Arlington actually. They published that. And then when I had like the year after that, I had like 2 plays off Broadway, and we're able to through hook or through crook get the New York Times to come, and the reviews were pretty good. And so like through that and through they already knew me, like I was able to get like 2 more of plays published just like a year later through Dramatists Play Service. And so now I have 5 with Dramatists Play Service, I have 5 with Sam French, I have some others, Broadway Play Publishing, 2 with Playscripts, more with Playscripts actually, because I write under another name. And then
What?
Yeah, and then I have some other short plays under another name and another publisher too.
Could you send that to me in a private email later? Because I'm so curious.
Sure. They're all like the ones under the other name are all 30-minute plays, and so they're like specifically for high schools.
Great.
And they're mostly like comedies specifically for high schools.
That's awesome.
Or like colleges do them and stuff, but like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, somewhere around there. Like there's a bunch of them that are looking for that. And so, and then I'm forgetting Original Works Publishing, and I already said Broadway Play Publishing, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's 14, I think.
That's a rainbow of publishers.
Maybe 6 or 7 more at the like 30-minute plays.
And then, that's amazing. And then we mentioned New Play Exchange. Have you known about them since their inception?
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like I've known Gwydion for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think I knew Gwydion before New Play Exchange, and I think that like I was there when he was talking about it and figuring out what it was and like building it from the ground up. Like I feel like he was like talking about it online.
You want to describe it real quick if someone doesn't know what that is?
Sure. A lot of playwrights. It's a place where people can post plays. And so for like $10, like actors, theaters, other playwrights can just go and read like thousands and thousands. I forget what the number is, but like
they hit a new number,
20,000, 30,000 plays there online. And there's short plays and there's long plays and there's all sorts of plays. I mean, the thing is, like, I feel like some playwrights have a weird expectation of what it's supposed to be and what it is. Mm-hmm. Like I've gotten, maybe like 7 productions from it. And they're like either small theaters or they're high schools or they're colleges. Right. Like they're not like, I'm not going to get like Playwrights Horizons is not going to find something on there and be like, oh, this is what we're going to do. And so like the, like the major off-Broadway or major regional theaters already have huge piles of stuff to read. They're not looking to go on New Play Exchange and read more stuff. But I found like some of my new plays have like huge casts and like high schools want to do them. Yeah. And they've just like found them. And I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, at this point, like they were all like, most of them didn't like started doing them and then like had to, I had a bunch of productions that are supposed to be happening right now that are either canceled or postponed. And so a bunch of those were from New Play Exchange. So when the smoke clears, I'll figure out like how many of those productions are actually happening. Like I was about to have like my best year ever for like productions, and I was like, oh, this is great, and then like I don't know what's gonna happen.
So I was actually going to ask you about that, because I remember a couple months ago seeing, you know, you posting about, you know, these plays getting picked up, and it seemed like, I gotta tell you, Adam, it seems like everyone I knew, like the most successful playwright, director, actors, the ones who struggle and they're super talented but have trouble getting jobs, you know, because it's competitive. I think everyone I know was booked for April, May, June. And the theaters that I've worked for had these great seasons planned, and it's like to watch that all it's heart-wrenching.
Yeah, no, it's heartbreaking. I mean, I feel like I'm like one of the lucky ones, because the premiere of Clown Bar 2, it's just being delayed at the moment, and I'm sure, you know, they commissioned it, so I'm sure it'll happen.
They want it
at some
to happen,
point eventually. But it was like supposed to be in May, and now like it's supposed to be in June, and you know, we'll see. But then there's a theater in Chicago who is doing a new play of mine called The Bookstore, and that again they were like, oh, we're just going to postpone it. So hopefully that'll still happen. And those were like the two bigger things that were coming up.
Yeah.
And the other ones were, you know, like this college, this high school, and you know, it's in some ways those are sadder, because like those high school kids were like rehearsing it, and then you know,
yeah, we were
get to do it.
We were in the process of Carrie the musical, and to watch that down. I mean, it's like what, you know, you look outside and you're like, well, listen, if Broadway's closed, we're not going to force this through. I mean, it's back when the words were still coming down, but we're hoping to do something with it, because as far as I know now, we're not losing any students. So we're hoping to postpone, even if it's just like a concert version of it. You know what I mean? Even if it's something like, here's where we got to it. Like, we'll pay the rights, we'll do everything right. But like, here's where we were, and you should hear where we were. But you know, but who knows when that is? That's
it's really sad. And like, also it's like in our lifetime, there hasn't been a time when they're like, let's shut all the theaters down everywhere.
Right.
And so I was like, this is great. I feel like I can eventually like make a living as a playwright. Like, I'm like, I got momentum. Like, this is like last year was like my best year. This year is set to be like a bigger, better year than that year. Like, I feel like if I can keep going like this in a few years, like I'll be able to make my living completely from playwriting.
Wow,
and like that is maybe a possible thing, is what I was thinking. Now I'm like, I mean,
now you have to like just print those theaters.
When does theater start again? 2021? And like, there are so many, you know, there's so many plays that are like supposed to be happening, and then season after that's supposed to be happening. And so it's just going to be like, the pipeline's already clogged, and it's just going to be like,
pipeline's clogged. You're going to have theaters that need, and this is the problem with, you know, the strain on new works, right? You're going to need, unless you have theaters that are going to support that and that's their mission. First of all, you have to have people want to come back, which they will, right? We
I think so.
I
don't know.
Well, I mean, even
wearing masks. Who knows?
Wearing masks after we're vaccinated, after wonder drugs take effect. But like, we are gonna miss, you know, the humanity that theater, that the art on the stage. It's actually one of the things I love about your plays, right? Because I know you as a person, and as much as I know you as a person, right? You're quiet. You have a sly sense of humor. You're fun to hang around. But it's not like, you know, I don't see you, like, I don't get to hear that poetic side of you, because most of the time we're just messing around, right? And then I read your plays, and it's like this unveiling of the human soul in a beautiful way. I should be so nice to you. I don't like it. But it's true. From the first play years I read, I was just, the ear you have for empathy, or for vulnerability, is something that attracts me to theater. So it's something that I was very upset, actually, that my predecessor at my school did one of your plays, because, you know, talk about the pipeline, like, I read all these plays years that I want to do, I send them out to theaters that I want to do them with, and because I feel like the audience will have that catharsis, will have that emotional connection, because the plays are really emotional, which means that somewhere deep down, so are you. So are you.
Yep.
And then if that doesn't work, we should write our great He-Man and the Masters of the Universe co-pro, and just
My 6-year-old's upstairs. He's reading all the we found all the little comic books.
Yes.
And he's reading them all. And he throws them on the ground. He reads the next one. He throws it on the ground. And there's like doubles of some of them because they like came in the packet with the He-Mans.
I'm in the wrong room to show you, and I'm sure no one listening wants to know this, but my other love that's very performance arty is professional wrestling, and at Christmas they came out with Masters of the WWE Universe, and so it's wrestlers, action figures, but in the style of 80s He-Man action figures, and the boxing is the exact same, and they all had comics in them. I bought all of them for myself, and
how many were there?
In the first wave there's 4, and so now I'm just waiting for wave 2, and they came out with a ring that was crag-like, like Eternia.
Oh, only 4. Okay.
Yeah. For now. But there's no play that has nothing to do with theater, except when my daughter said, "Can we open them?" And I had that thing of like, I'm not really a collector, but like, should I I'm like, can I just look at them?
Did you open them? What did you do?
I opened one of them, and the ring came with 2 that weren't boxed. But when it used to be Christmas, my favorite packaging was a Christmas present wrapped that you knew it was an action figure, like you could feel the plastic on it, like a G.I. Joe or a He-Man.
Yeah.
I would be like, that's the one I want. So
yeah, and you can just tear it out from the back.
Yes. Anyway, I derailed myself with that one. I don't know where we were going or what we were talking about. So
probably theater. It's probably like a theater related. I think we went to the plague and questioning when theater comes back. So I had to go to a happy place. Right. Yeah.
I
wonder what even like TV. People that I know who are writing for TV now, they're doing it over Zoom. Mm-hmm. They're like doing the writers' rooms over Zoom right now. So, but I don't know how our show's going to start up again. When are they going to? Because if we have another bunch of like reality shows instead of more TV programming. Last time that happened because of the writer's strike.
Writer's strike, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I think about that too. One of the things that I teach in my classes is just, looking at theater or art period, right, in the moment and what it's reacting to. And I won't go through the diatribe now. And I think it was actually in a play. I probably stole half of it from a play called Rapture, Blister, Burn. I remember her having this thing of like, you have this like, post World War II, era of good feelings, part 2 in the 50s. But what really is happening is all these people with PTSDs, like dads would come, like the Wonder Years. How is work? Work's work. And like you're terrified of dad, and mom hands him a drink, and everything's fine, but it's not fine. And then those kids who had no relationship, between 1964, when everything, or 63, like everything's like still like doo-wah diddy diddy. Then like Kennedy dies, MLK, RFK, and then you have Woodstock. And like in that time frame, you have the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and you have Sgt. Pepper in a 5-year span. And that seems impossible, right? And it's always about like what you're reacting to. And anyway, then I just keep going, like grunge music is reacting to this and blah, blah, blah. And, but it was, the post 9/11 art, I feel like took a really long time to find its legs. Like no one knew how to write about it, but about 10 years later, and feel free to disagree, like every show wasn't talking about 9/11. They were talking about a post-apocalyptic world. You had, you had Lost, Walking Dead, The Road, an event happened. We didn't understand, or it doesn't even matter what it was, and how do we survive? And so we had survivalist drama for like 12 years. And I'm kind of wondering when we come out of this, I mean, you actually wrote a monologue for a piece that was like at the very early stages of this, of people stranded in quarantine, specifically stranded on a boat, right? That was like for the cruise ships.
Yeah, they were like, write a monologue on a boat.
Sounds like a very quick reaction.
So a bunch of us did. Yeah.
So do you think there's going to be I don't know, do you dare?
A bunch of quarantine plays? I don't know what'll happen. There were...
there's going to be some reaction, though.
Yeah, my other job is, I work at Juilliard, and I read all the plays that people submit to try to get into Juilliard every year. And like there were, we see like, okay, now there's a bunch of war veteran plays, and now there's a bunch of this kind of play, and there's a bunch of this. Now everyone's writing about this, and now everyone's writing about that. And it's like, I don't know what the next wave will be. And part of the reason I think that like people are excited to write about this thing sometimes, and sometimes people are like, oh, this is the play that if I write this play, I can get it produced.
Right.
And occasionally that works, but most of the time that doesn't work, I think.
Well, so how do you speak to the moment without like we get it? Like we're all living it right now, you know. So
we're all living it. There's no, and we don't want to think about it really. We're not like, I feel like escapist thing is the next thing. And you know, I've been writing escapist plays for the last few years, just because partially I don't like escaping from like the Trump administration, basically.
Well, you started with that, and it's funny that you said that. It's like, and it goes back to that, like that powerful empathy, right? It's like the overwhelming cycle of news and bad news.
Like constant bad news.
So like
and so like, you know, like, so my play The Bookstore or my play The Wooden Heart, they're both like very like, here is a utopian world in which people are struggling with things, but like it's escapist comedy, kind of like more of like a Midsummer Night's Dream than like King Lear, you know.
Do you think so? Like those two plays, do you think that they is your genesis, or you know, like I need to write a play about this, or you start writing the play and then you realize it's about this?
So I studied under Marsha Norman, and I kind of always need to know what the play's about before I start writing. And sometimes it'll surprise you, and it might change while you're writing it. But I always have I always kind of know what I'm trying to write about, and who the people are in it, and what world we're in.
Sure.
And I talked to you before, I think before we started recording, I was like, I'm gonna teach a class in genre writing, which is I'm inventing this class, because I've written a bunch of I've written like a pirate play and a cowboy play, and like Clown Bar is like this noir play about like gangster clowns, and Hearts Like Fists is a comic book play, like a superhero comic book play, and so like I'm interested in like going into a genre and then like kind of making it my own, and like making it about the things that usually the genre aren't about, that I'm more interested in.
So that's a really interesting thing. I don't know if these are actually connected, but in my head they are, so I'll just say it out loud. I was listening to Dana Carvey talk about impressions one time, and he said like the key to his impressions weren't just sounding like the person, but putting that person in a place you would never hear them. So it was like when he does his George H.W. Bush, not like when he was on SNL, he would just do it. But like in later years, it's like, and here's George H.W. Bush, you know, like, I don't know, trying to start a motorcycle, and he ran out of gas, you know, it's like, not going to do it, you know, like, and that, like going into a genre and then flipping it so that it's not, you know, and I'm just going back to you reading a ton of plays, you know, when you see those waves of, I don't know, collective unconscious and zeitgeist come in, that's kind of an interesting thing too, that I'm sure when we write those plays or have those thoughts, we're like, this is it, I'm the one who's tackling this, and we're never as clever.
I never think that. I'm like always like, oh right, yeah, okay. I almost never think that. I wrote I have a Robin Hood play, and the premise of it is that Robin Hood has always been made Marian in disguise, and I was like, I don't think anyone's done this exact thing yet. And then I think like probably like a month later someone did it. Like it's like a movie, there's like a movie coming out that's like Marian, like, and it's got to be different, but like it's like totally the thing that I did. I think.
Oh God, isn't that funny?
Like, oh, all right, there are no new ideas.
Is that one published? So you can point like I wrote this on this day.
No, it's clear that mine happened first.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know.
And I think it, like, maybe it already came out, so maybe everyone hates it. Either they,
but they liked your play, so I don't remember seeing it. So that's a great, like, and that's like in King Lear, right? There's some scholarly debate whether Cordelia was the fool. Or could be played by the same person, you know, that she comes kind of like how Kent comes back to hide, as I can't remember the other name he comes back in, but no, it's funny you said that, because the only time I wrote plays was in college and right after, and I had this play that the first play I wrote. I was pumped about it, right? I'm sure it's terrible, but it's actually also the first play I directed. I was in this program where you could create your own end of the year. It was like an experimental little thing inside of a liberal arts college. I didn't get into a bunch of shows, so I was like, all right, I'll write one. And then I got to this program, and they're like, what do you want to do for your final? I'm like, I don't know, direct it. And then when that was done, like the theater department they came to it, and they were like,
awesome.
You should do this some more. I go, okay. But
that's weird that you had that kind of vocal quality.
Well, that was that's why I sounded like in 2000.
Yeah. No, I know.
I've grown. But
I've heard recordings.
The play
has
like
around.
striking like similarities to the movie Pleasantville, and and I swear I hadn't seen or watched Pleasantville yet. And then I was like, and then I heard it come out, and then I was like, we were doing a table read of it, and they're like, oh, like Pleasantville. I'm like, no, this is my play. It's a great idea. It had to do with sitcoms and going back in the past. It was
everyone wants context for something they know, and so like there's no getting around like they're gonna compare it. Like I mean, my play Nerve always gets compared to I want to say Danny and the Deep Blue Sea, and like those plays are really different, but like in like superficial level, like it's two people, you know, bar situation kind of thing.
Right. We need
I'm thinking of a different play.
Need like
it's been a really long time since I read that play.
A navigation post, right? It's like you need something to home yourself to.
Yeah. People are like, oh, it's kind of like this. And but it does, like, sometimes it's like, you know, oh, that's not a thing that I know. And then sometimes it's like, oh yeah, kind of, okay. Yeah, all right.
Well, I know when I've described Kodachrome to people, it's like in my mind, and I'm sure I'm not gonna, you know, it's like this our townish, but I also that has positive and negative connotations, right? There's plenty of like that could be super high praise because it's one of the, you know, most done and respected plays, or it could be like, oh, I hate our town. So to be.
I mean, I didn't like Our Town. I read it when I was writing this play. People kept saying, oh, this is like Our Town. And so I was like, I gotta go read Our Town again. And I read it and I was like, oh yeah, this is really, like, I respected it and really enjoyed it in a way that I hadn't before. But I feel like actually the message of Our Town is kind of the opposite of the message of my play, which is much more sentimental and about like love lasting, whereas like Our Town is like everything fades, everybody dies, everything is horrible, you go to war, why would you get married, for what purpose?
Right.
And people don't get that. People watch it and they're like, it was so beautiful, and then they're like, somehow like the world view of it like flies right past your head.
Right. It's the idea of what we're told it is actually,
they're just like, it's fine art, it's good art. And it's great art, but like it's also like pretty subversive about like
it's some rough times in that play. It's like oh, there goes Doc. 3 people just died. It's like, and they're never coming back. So it's yeah, I think that's why I like your play better. Take that, Thornton.
Finally, I'll get my revenge on him.
That's right. I don't know. Have we been talking for a while? I feel like we've been talking for a little bit. So.
Oh, that's it. It's over.
No, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you for an hour.
I mean, whatever.
If people want to, I just know we probably both have wives and children who we are keeping like at bay behind these doors.
That's absolutely what's happening right now.
Sometimes I hear less noise and I get more worried. So.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is the house calm? I should learn to just enjoy that, but I don't know how to enjoy things anymore. No, I do.
In my house, when it's quiet, that's usually a good thing.
Nothing's breaking.
Yeah, there's a lot of screaming.
Yeah. I know.
That kid screams a lot.
We're
trying to get him to stop. We can't figure out how. We're working on it. It's a process.
You need soundproof rooms. And then
like we didn't until now. We're all in the same house, and now it's like they can hear me down here, I can hear them up there.
Right.
Like we want to turn on the music, and no, I can't. We can't turn on the music while other people are doing other things.
The day seems so much longer when you're always in the same place, and it's all the same jokes that I see online of like, what day is it? But that definitely that's happening. That's happening a little bit. Or like I'll get to 7 o'clock, and if I do want to do, like, you know, even talking to you now, I'm like, oh, new play exchange. Like, you know, I read new plays for a couple different organizations. I was like, I've been wanting to just go read new plays for myself for years, right? And I do it sometimes, but like now I have time. and I don't, and so like
No.
and I'm just, I've been doing this juggle of on my personal work, like, because I teach, so luckily I'm still working, but I'm not directing anything now. So there's an artistic jump I could take in terms of taking stuff in. I think I've started 3 books. I'm watching The Golden Girls from the start. I don't know why. I think it's because I need it,
Yeah. Yeah.
And like 8 other shows too, but like I also don't have time to watch any of them. So I'm getting like 1 episode in, and then, but
yeah, that's how it is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not even trying to be productive, but I'm just trying to be.
Well, do you know what's crazy about this time is like everyone's having a very different experience.
Yes.
Because there are people that are holed up with their parents. There are people that are like holed up in a tiny apartment. There are people in their huge mansions, probably.
Yeah.
there are, and there are people who can like go out and like do things, like go out in their backyards, and there are people that can never go out at all.
Right.
And there are people in abusive relationships, like stuck in their house with that other person. And there are, and also like there are people who suddenly don't have a job, who are freaking out because they don't have a job, and they have all this time. And like you and me, we have these children. And so we're doing homeschooling and trying to do our day jobs and like trying to like continue to be artists all at the same time. And that's like a completely different thing than like someone who's like not working right now, who is like furloughed and really watch like movies all day.
It is like, right. It's if you're watching movies all day, it's probably not for great reasons. And it's sad. It's tough. And it's a blessing to be this busy, but you're right. And like even the things you listed, right, it's like homeschooling, still doing my job, trying to be an artist. It's like also want to be like a decent husband, and then maybe because I know this is important just from how crazy my life is, like then you have to like take care of yourself too, because once you put all that other stuff on top of it, I'm like, oh, like I haven't done, like what have I done? So I'm glad you're writing, even if it's a little bit.
I'm hopefully trying to get some time today, but I don't, because this week was so busy at work. I haven't had any time to write this week.
Do you have the next thought,
like today or tomorrow?
Do you have the next thought etched out, Marcia Norman style?
There's a screenplay that I need to finish.
Okay.
That I've written like a little more than half of it, but I gotta finish writing it. And those are harder to write, like a lot harder to write than plays.
How many screenplays?
But I think it can be really good if I can write it. I can finish it.
If you just get done with it. Is it an original idea, or is it a screenplay based on one of your plays?
I've done that before. No, it's another idea. It's an original idea.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, listen, when the world goes back to whatever it's going to turn into, I look forward to hearing about all your plays getting put back on. Oh, let me ask you one more question.
So we should make some theater again, you and me.
Make some theater.
We gotta do that thing.
I don't, wherever it is, your plays are worth hearing. Speaking of which, and this is not a self-serving question with what you just said, but I actually had this thought, and I was going to ask you. Ask you anyway, but we'll record it. I was thinking like, oh, what's the way that we can all stay connected, but at the same time, like artists should be compensated for what they're doing, this and that. Have people been doing like readings of plays this way? And how do playwrights feel about that?
I have one next Friday in Boston. Apollinaire Theater Company is going to do a reading of Clown Bar 2. Clown Bar 1 went up in Boston a few years ago, and it was a big hit. And it was Theater on Fire did it, and Theater on Fire doesn't exist anymore. Gotcha. But I think a bunch of the people from Clown Bar 1 are going to come, but it's like hey everybody, we're all going to read this thing. Who wants to be in it? And then they cast it, and then they just do it, and they just read it out loud. And so it's like basically like a cold reading, kind of like let's do art things.
And now is that just for the theater though, or are they going to like broadcast that as a way of like giving their patrons something?
I think that anyone who is a patron can sit and watch or can sit and read. Depending on like how many roles they have.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that. I was thinking about even the play we did, because like at first I was like, oh, is there a way to keep the playwrights going?
Yeah. And
then I thought it might not be fair to the playwright that like, if I can't rehearse their play, I mean, I can rehearse this way in a small way.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's fair to the play for the first time for it to be heard out loud is through Zoom. But then I was like, oh, but the play we did, like we had a run with that. And again, I'm not putting you on the spot, but I was like, I'm trying to figure out if playwrights would be open to the idea of their plays being.
I mean, depending on how long we're doing this, I feel like there's not a lot of other options. So it's like,
you better get started.
Like another month, like, yeah, all right, well, there's no need. But like, if it's like, you know, if it's where at this point, no one really knows like how long this is going to be. So I feel like we have to come up with new ways of doing things. And, you know, I have like a lot of my plays have monologues in them, and actors regularly post themselves doing monologues online, which they're probably not supposed to do, but I never say anything and I never care. And most of them are bad, but some of them are good occasionally.
Yeah.
And like that had like stopped for a while, like it like super slowed down when this just had started. Yeah. And now it's like, I see just from my own, it's like ramping up again. And so I think a lot of actors are like, I got to do something. And so they're like posting themselves doing monologues online as a way to just like keep connected and, you know, keep making art.
It is everyone's seeing what a casting director sees now with taped auditions. And that in itself is a fine art, because for a while I'd never cast anyone from a tape, but for a few plays now, you know, it's worked. But it's that in itself is like, can be really hard. And again, not like bad acting. I don't want to like, you know, crush people on that, but there's such a live connection that's obviously important to why we do what we do instead of doing, you know, TV or film. But like you said, if we want to get stuff out there, we got to do things like this.
Yeah,
you know?
We got to do things like this. I mean, I sort of, I guess it's going to like, we'll all decide on a case-by-case basis. But like for this thing Friday, it seems very casual, and also for theater lovers, and like the week, you know, they're also like reading like screenplays and stuff. They're reading like Monty Python and like whatever. They're just like trying to like gather together and like, it's like read something out loud together in a room kind of thing with just like a slightly larger room. Yeah. And so that seems like a cool thing. I'm gonna do like kind of like, I've done a table read of a play already this way. And I'm going to do another table read of a play this way too. And so that feels normal to do that kind of thing. I don't know about the public reading version of that. I feel like, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But like you'd have to rehearse and stuff.
Right, because you want it out there in some polish and some way that respects the work and gets it out there with so last question, maybe, unless you want to keep talking. So at a play like Young Love that we did, right, where it's a great, I love this play. I really did. 2-person play, right? There's a want for plays like that. Is that play gonna do? What do you do with a play like that? Because you're writing new ones. It's not published. I don't think it's been produced. Is that right?
It hasn't. You know, there were a couple productions planned.
Okay, great.
And I don't know. One of them, it was like these 2 actors who have this theater company in New York, and one of the actors did Nerve last year, and hurt himself really badly doing this thing where he falls backwards. And that's not in the script, but he hurt himself really badly, and is like, I just can't do. And so I'm waiting to hear, like, are they gonna still do the play somehow? They want to do the play, but he's like, you know, his back's really messed up. So I don't know. So maybe that'll happen. And then there's another director who's planning on doing it. We'll see where he ends up doing it. He's Austin based, but he's about to move. But he was planning on doing it like now or something.
Right.
So that's not happening.
But it was getting a good response then. And is that all from just you sending it out to people that you know, or people finding it on New Play Exchange?
Those were both sending it to people that I know. Yeah. You know, I haven't had a lot of luck with the 2-character plays on the New Play Exchange. I've had more luck with the like lots of character plays. which is like the opposite of what you think it is.
Right, but what you said before about high school makes sense with that, right? Like, because even for my school, you know, I could do a 2-character play, but I don't think it'd be beneficial to my department too, you know, so.
Right. You don't want to do that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I like, honestly, like a play like that is oddly harder to get up than for me than like a large cast play. Because part of it is I know a lot of like big ensemble theaters that are built around an ensemble or like want that kind of thing. Like I've been commissioned by those kind of theaters more than the other kind of theater.
Right.
And like usually there's like one slot that they're looking for that has like a 2-character play or a 3-character play or something. And those slots get like grabbed up pretty quickly. And it's usually, especially like the play that was off Broadway last year that everyone liked. And so it's like figuring out how to be the play that was off Broadway last year that everyone likes is kind of the.
I know. Well, it's a funny thing because I just said in my school, I don't look for the 2-person play, but for all the theaters I work for, I went through a phase where I did 4 2-handers in a row.
Yeah.
And now I've done a bunch of 3-person plays, you know?
Yeah.
So like when I see a play like yours, I'm like, oh, I can bring this to a theater and we can do it, you know, because this is the slot they're looking for.
And like weirdly, like I haven't had a lot of luck with that. And I think they're good plays. Like I don't think it's that problem. It's just like, I don't know.
Right. There's only one
there's
slot.
A lot of luck involved in this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Which sounds like this was your year, man. You were 2020 all the way.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, we'll see. Hopefully it'll pick up again.
It'll pick up again. There's sunshine at the end of the rainbow. Is that a thing people say? I don't know.
Sunshine at the end of the rainbow?
I just made that up.
Big light at the end of the tunnel?
That's it. That was
the pot of gold at the end of a rainbow.
I mean, there is, but whenever I get
like
there,
a unicorn or something.
It's always gone. But you know, we'll be okay. We're gonna keep on keeping on. We're gonna make theater, and people are gonna, you know, hear these words, and we'll be ready when that time comes.
One hopes.
Buddy. Hey, it's good to talk to you, friend.
It's good to talk to you too.
Thanks for doing this for Playhouse on Park, and I'm really happy to hear everything that's going well with your plays and hear that you're doing well, and we'll catch up soon, all right?
Sounds good.
All right. Bye-bye, Adam.
Bye.